Hello and welcome back to this chapter titled, Follow the Yellow Path. In this chapter, we will get the basis of what's been going on in the woods that has everyone on edge, as well as some of the personalities and conflicts amongst the group. So, sit back, relax, and put on your imagination cap for this week's adventure of Regiment of the Damned Act 1 Part 4. Follow the Yellow Path Part 1. 8:23 a.m. 15 days ago. Okay boys, here is the situation. Our mission is to find the pod, which we believe landed over by the Green Swamp, contact them, and bring them to Commissar Thaddeus. Are there any smart questions to ask before we go?
Is there going to be heavy resistance from the orcs, Sergeant?
Our data says no, Private Reynolds. Looking over and seeing Sergeant Fields walking up behind the group. The patrols are saying the orcs are avoiding this area, but remember gentlemen, our patrol's disappearances are coming from the swamp. We must always remain vigilant in the woods. Are there any other questions? Everyone looking around nervously and uneasy. Sergeant Fields in the back of the group whispering and then noticing Sergeant Johnson looking at him with an irritated look that only a commissar's right-hand man can give. Do you have anything else to add, Sergeant Fields? Or is that it?
Yes, I do, Johnson. Gentlemen, when we go out, do not show your fear. How can you fear something which you cannot see? Tell me, would you?
Johnson interrupting. Everyone meets Sergeant Fields. He is attaching with us on this mission since it goes through the green swamps. He has the most knowledge and knows the direct routes around it. Johnson seeing his men doing the last-minute checks, Johnson has this uneasy feeling that something's going to go wrong, but at the same time felt like he'd done this before. The essence of déjà vu flutters his body. Looking towards the center of the group, he sees Private Todd staring at him. Blinking his eyes, he sees a small child, and blinking again seeing Todd as the person he is today. Snapping out of it, he regains his thoughts for the mission at hand. Okay, gentlemen, let's go. Sergeant Fields, come up to the front to show us where to go.
If it is all the same, Johnson, I would like to stay in the back to make sure no one falls behind. It can get very confusing in the woods, and it is extremely easy to get lost if you get turned around.
Johnson getting angry and fed up with the nonsense, walking down the line to meet Sergeant Fields, looking into his eyes. Get up there now! The two of them locking eyes, neither one of them backing down. Knowing next time, it will not be the same outcome, with only one going to be standing tall.
Very well, Sergeant, as you wish.
Rolling his eyes at Johnson. Johnson walking back up to the head of the line, with Sergeant Fields tailing from behind. Let's go. When we get clear of the woods to the fork in the path for the swamp, we will stop and get our numbers and head out the rest of the way for the pod. Remember, men, we walk with no sound. Follow the Yellow Path Part 2, 9:03 a.m. 15 days ago. Okay, men, everyone online with me. Corporal Favor, Corporal Smith, are you up on your numbers?
Yes, I am up, Sergeant,
replied Corporal Smith. Corporal Favor, what about you? Thinking the worst now about Corporal Favor. Everyone 360, Corporal Smith and Reynolds, find Corporal Favor in the back now. Come back with him or without him in 10 minutes. Both replying, yes, Sergeant. The rest of us, 10 meters out and 10 meters back in. Fields, take Corporal Dolan with you and go up ahead of us and wait for the rest of us. From the back of the woods, shots from lost guns and screams of terror are heard from the back. A voice is heard saying,
Holy shit! What are you? Kill it, kill it, kill it! Hurry, don't let him go! Watch out from behind! Frag out! Reynolds, where are you going? Don't go that way, Reynolds! Reynolds, come back!
Johnson thinking that sounds like Corporal Smith. Private Todd, on me! Corporal Papa, take the rest and go meet up with Corporal Dolan.
Yes, Sergeant.
Stay close, Todd. They cannot be too far from us. Both walking slow back into the woods, and last guns at the ready.
Sergeant,
Do you think it was the orcs who got them?
I don't know, Todd, but to be honest, I hope so.
Moments later, a change in the wind brings a smell to Johnson's nose.
Are you smelling that, Todd?
Yes, Sergeant. Smells like flesh that is burning or something.
Looking over to the right and seeing a human body.
Sergeant, over here.
Johnson walks over where Todd is and sees his face holding back vomit.
What in the hell happened here, Todd? Who is this?
Johnson hears splashes of liquid hitting the ground, taking a quick glance, making sure the liquid is not on his boots. Todd taking his forearm, wiping away the vomit away from his mouth.
I can't tell, Sergeant.
Holding back the second wave of vomit again from the smell in the air.
Looks like cuts from a razor, with some acid burns. What is that on his chest, Sergeant? Some type of claw tentacle thing, like a harpoon or something.
Johnson looking around to make sure that they have time to investigate what has happened here safely.
Looks like it grabbed him and pulled him in, Todd. I know Commissar Thaddeus would like to see this for himself. Get your bag out, Todd, while I get a stick together to pick up the claw tentacle thing.
Yes, Sergeant.
Exhaling, knowing exactly where this thing is going to be placed at.
Sergeant, what do you think happened here?
Well, Todd, I do not know, but if it was me and I was getting pulled in like this, I would pull my pin to my handy-dandy crack grenade that is on my chest and try to kill both of us.
Looking over at Todd with a big smile from ear to ear. Todd thought if he did the same thing, his father would find something wrong with it somehow. Looking over at the trees over his right shoulder, sees something odd and out of place like a dull shim. Rubbing his eyes on his left shoulder and looking at the spot again, nothing was out of place now.
I think...
Todd looking all round at that spot now, feeling concern.
I see something over by the trees, Sergeant.
Right, let's take a look over there, Sir Todd.
Johnson trying to ease the tension in the air, pushing the leaves back. The stagnant air now moving was brushing against Johnson's nose, making him gag instantaneously.
What do you see, Sergeant?
Holding his last gun to cover their backs.
We are leaving, Todd. Is your present in your bag for Commissar Thaddeus to look at?
Yes, Sergeant, and properly secured too.
Nervously thinking how it's only secured by a thin layer of plastic and a rubber band.
Good, let's double time back to the others. We don't want to keep Commissar Thaddeus waiting for too long.
Yes, Sergeant, we should not.
Looking at the ground and thinking about the time, he was late to a work detail summoned by Commissar Thaddeus. Both walking out and running to the others. Thank you for listening to Part 4 of The Regiment of the Damned Act 1. Turn in next week as we listen to the next chapter called Back at the Briefing Part 2. In that chapter, we will hear how Sergeant Johnson talking about the weapons of the Tyranids and how they fight on the field and how to kill them. Will more questions be answered, or will there only be more questions later? Who is Smith? Why did or where did Private Reynolds run off to?